What does the FBI's latest application actually mean? And how does withholding information amount to evidence of wrongdoing? Joining us now from Abuja is legal practitioner Eze Onyekpere. Mr. Eze, thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's start with the legal significance of this particular development. The FBI does warn, and it wants to give the judge reasons for withholding records privately. Does that in itself suggest that there is something particularly sensitive in those records, or are we just reading too much into these actions?
Well, freedom of information laws have exceptions, where some information could be withheld in the public interest, in the interest of security, or any other interest that the society considers overimposing than just merely releasing the records. But essentially, the important thing that Nigerians and the world needs to know is just the facts and circumstances surrounding the release. Yes, they may redact some information that may jeopardize future investigations. So I don't think that what the FBI is trying to do is just to say we wouldn't release totally, but it's a question of taking away some parts of it which they don't consider to be in the public interest if it is released.
I do understand the need for retractions, especially when you are dealing with the public. But the FBI, however, has cited that the FOIA exemptions involving investigative techniques, confidential sources, and the safety of individuals. What do these exemptions actually mean? And should the public interpret them as evidence that the allegations against President Tinubu have substance?
Well, the allegations against the president, they are not criminal allegations, but he himself has even admitted that there was some money forfeited to the government of the United States of America due to some activities, that were clearly illegal. These proceedings are like the kind of things we have the EFCC do here, forfeiture of funds which the accused person or the defendant cannot explain the source of funds, but it's not a criminal conviction. But in all honesty, if you want to be president of Nigeria, Nigerians should be able to know what you have done in the past with your life, particularly if it concerns issues relating to hard drugs and the circumstances under which a plea bargain was done for you to forfeit some money to the Treasury and the case ended. So it's not a question of reading more meaning into it, but I think it is based on the American law, and it is up to the judge to decide whether the FBI request to redact some sections of the information or the evidence will be upheld. It's up to the court at the end of the day to decide in the public interest.
Now, we are dealing, of course, like you've mentioned, with the DEA and the FBI, which also kind of communicates the fact that this may not necessarily be something small. But when we look at public skepticism, the FBI and the DEA were previously ordered by the judge, Beryl Powell, to lift their gloomer. In response, of course, given that the history does this latest application represent a setback for transparency, or is it simply a normal legal process for protecting sensitive information?
Well, this case has started for some years now. It's a bit surprising for some of us that these claims of redactions are being made after about 2 or 3 years this case has been in the court. So the expectation was that these issues would have been raised so much earlier, and not like at this late hour when the judge has made some form of a final order for us to have these applications coming up. Whatever it is, the clear interest of Nigerians is to have an understanding. Whatever should be the decision should be able to give us a clear understanding of who exactly the man who wants to rule us for a second term is, what are the transactions he has been involved, what is the legality of the issues. Yes, the FBI may not want to expose persons maybe who gave information to jeopardy. They don't want to expose their investigative and security secrets. It's normal in Nigeria, that would have also been done. But the important thing, let them give us sufficient information to enable us to make up our mind about the character, the competence, and the past antecedents of whoever wants to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Now, President Tinubu's critiques do say that his public responses have not adequately addressed the questions surrounding these allegations. From a lawyer's perspective, such as yourself, what would constitute a credible and convincing response to or from the president in this regard?
It is for the president to come up and address Nigerians to say, I was involved in A, B, C, D. This was the response of FBI. And this was the decision of the courts at the end of the day, which is a final decision. So once he comes clean, we may not even need the FBI or the courts in America releasing any document. It is for him to come clean and not being evasive and filing all kinds of applications. You know, the last time he filed an application that it will hurt him fundamentally. That's not what we need of a president. We are talking of a man who leads a nation and who should be an example, particularly to the young and upcoming generation of youths who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow. So he should come clean, explain the circumstances, apologize if he needs to be, give us a guarantee that he has long left that kind of conduct and will not do it again. That's what we expect, and not to be hiding under legal technicalities. Nigerians cannot continue in this kind of idea that we don't know exactly who our president is, or he has in the past done things that he's so ashamed of that he cannot come up publicly and own them. So a clear explanation of what happened, apologies if necessary, guarantees that he will not be involved in such things again, and then ask Nigerians to forgive him and look forward. We can now make progress.
Now, I'm interested to note, because, of course, the FBI did state that one of the reasons why they want to withhold this is because lives could be put in danger. I'm not too sure if these lives are lives in the United States or lives within Nigeria. Taking into consideration the political climate in Nigeria right now, should the president confirm or perhaps deny or give context to what is happening in the United States, could this be for him or against him, taking into consideration that the political climate in Nigeria right now?
The question should not be whether it is for him or against him. The question is about the interest of the Nigerian electorate. We are discussing something bigger than Tinubu. We are discussing something bigger than one individual. We are discussing somebody who wants to be Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, somebody who has to manage all the federal taxes and the revenues and the contracts. So we need somebody of impeccable character. And the more we know about his past, the more we'll be in a position to exercise reasoned judgment about his suitability to continue in that office. So at the end of the day, whatever is the case, all I'm saying is that the redaction should be done in such a way that it may remove names and identities of persons so that they will not be put in harm's way. But the full details and gravamen and summary of what happened should be in the open, especially for the benefit of the black race, where Nigeria is 1/5 of and the biggest nation in Africa.
Agreed. Now, when we do look at the people, as you've mentioned, ultimately, what should Nigerians be watching for next? If the judge does allow the FBI to submit its declaration publicly, and of course, if the agency continues withholding these records, where does that leave the public debate? And can Nigerians responsibly or reasonably draw any conclusions about the president's alleged past from the documents that remain sealed?
When a document about a person is being sought to be relieved through the Freedom of Information proceedings in a country like America, and that person is filing objections to say it should not be revealed, you must know that there is something hidden that is not good enough for the ears and eyes and their senses to perceive. So our conclusion, if this is continued and there's a denial, is to say that Mr. President comes from a shady past. And that he has not even lived up to the stage where he accepts that that past is shady, apologizes, and gives us a guarantee of non-repetition. So it is up to Nigerians at the end of the day to vote in such a way to make sure the morals, decency of our society is upheld, that Nigeria brings out one of his best as his president, and not a race to the bottom to choose a man who has records he doesn't want Nigerians to know. We've gone beyond that stage, and that is part of the thing keeping Nigeria down. We need a leader who is transparent in character, in conduct, in the past, in the present, and who we trust will be transparent to us in the future. Once that trajectory of lack of transparency, of hiding behind technicalities, hiding behind the veil is established, then that person, to me, with utmost respect, behind whatever technical prescriptions we are saying in the law, is not a fit and proper person to lead Nigeria. Because if this were somebody hiring in an ordinary company, will you hire such a person to be your general manager or your chief executive officer before you talk of something like Nigeria? So Nigerians must exercise their faculties properly and diligently.
Eze Onyekpere there from Abuja. Thank you so much for your insights and your time.